Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to point out every day, it expands our base. This is debate week, and the great question is Joe Biden jacked up? Did he have, an injection in his ass, which is what Donald Trump suggested in just those words? This is a serious question. The question of competence, standing on a stage, 90 minutes, being able to debate the issues. What the Republicans have done and what Donald Trump has given his signal, which now his minions are following up on, is that clearly Joe Biden isn't capable. Joe Biden is going to be jacked up. They're going to give him an overdose of caffeine. They're going to give him a shot in the behind. That is what the Republicans are saying. It is a disgrace. This is a matter of serious national concern. What happens when a campaign degenerates into, nonsense? And of course, the former president's physician, who is now a member of Congress, Ronnie Jackson, is saying they've got to have a drug test. He's got to have a drug test. This is something that all of us had better consider with great care. This campaign may deteriorate into name-calling, and that would be the worst thing that could ever happen in the American political process. I want to suggest to you there are 4 critical issues which are going to be debated and discussed. And let's discuss what those are. The first issue will be global warming. As people around the United States watch the debate on Thursday night and listen carefully to what the candidates say, they will be roasting. And there is a real concern that I have that the question of the future of America in terms of weather is not going to be thoroughly vetted during this debate. It needs to be pointed out that Joe Biden put us back into the Paris Accords. Donald Trump took us out. And what would Donald Trump do if he were elected to another term as president? No doubt he would take us out. Number 2, the question of Roe v. Wade. Today marks the 2nd anniversary of the rescission of Roe v. Wade, the overthrow of a woman's right to choose. It is tragic for American women and the American men as well. And that means, my friends, that abortion, the right of a woman to control her own body, will be on the ballot in November. If that issue is on the ballot in November, I want to suggest to you, in the strongest possible terms, Donald Trump will lose. The American people are clearly on the side of a woman's right to choose. And by the way, it doesn't mean if you vote for a woman's right to choose that you're in favor of abortion. It means that you are saying what the Republicans classically have said, and that is that each individual should be responsible for their own actions. The third major issue will be democracy in America. The question of whether or not Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Now, let me be clear. There are those on the Republican side who are now saying the real threat to democracy is Joe Biden. I listened to a leading right-wing talk show host lay out the grounds for abuse of power by Joe Biden. He's the real dictator. I listened carefully and realized what rubbish that is. The honest-to-God truth is Joe Biden is not a threat to democracy. He is an upholder of democracy. And it is Donald Trump, because of January 6th, because of election denial, because of a whole host of issues, that he is the one who is the threat to democracy. And we cannot allow the Republicans to turn the tables. You know, if you repeat something often enough, we are told, it becomes truth. There is no truth in Donald Trump's election denial, his statements about January 6th, and what he intends to do in a second term, there is no doubt that Donald Trump is the threat to democracy. And the fourth issue, which is going to be aired in this campaign, is competence. Who has the cognitive ability to really be President of the United States? We have two senior citizens who are now competing. And as I pointed out in other podcasts, this is the last election in which I will be younger than both of the candidates of the major parties for president. But we are going to be watching as much about issues as we are about how they stand up to 90 minutes of intense discussion and debate. Thursday night is going to be an important night. And remember, one of the most interesting things that we do in judging a debate is we don't judge them on the merits, we judge them on the mistakes they make. Who will make the most glaring error? And how will that be interpreted by the media? This is a critical moment for the United States of America and for the world. And I want to come back to what I said at the very beginning. If an accusation is made by Donald Trump and by his minions that Joe Biden is jacked up for a debate, all of us better consider the implications of what that means. It is clearly not fair or just or right to make an accusation like that because there's no foundation for it. This is something we have to consider very carefully in electing a president of the United States. By the way, we have had presidents who have used amphetamines. We have. I would not be telling you the truth if I didn't remind you John F. Kennedy used amphetamines. We have had presidents who have had to use drugs for, well, a whole host of reasons. But the idea that Joe Biden is not mentally competent, not vigorous enough, simply because what the Republicans are doing is trying to turn the tables. And by the way, if they're going to, then they better test Donald Trump too. Hey, wait a minute. I'm not in favor of any testing, but if there were to be testing, both candidates should have to go through that process. That's what we do in athletic events, don't we? People have to take a test to see whether they're using performing-enhancing drugs. But the fact that I even have to say that is disturbing to me. The President of the United States of America, or a former President of the United States of America, this should not be an issue. It shouldn't be. It mustn't be. Let's stick to the issues. What say you? Thank you for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to hit the follow button and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. And I want to extend my special appreciation to Gogo Zoger, who is the producer of this podcast, who even this morning, early this morning, helped me make sure that we were able to get this podcast up and running. And to all of you, we'll be watching the news carefully to see, well, where the political world turns, and I can't wait to see.